This here is my 45 by 45 by 90 centimeter tall or 3 foot tall terrarium, or should I rather say vivarium, from Exo Terra. Now, in the first episode, I did explain why I bought this very large vivarium over here. And the reason for that is because I don't have any space anymore. And this vivarium over here is going to replace my old terrarium vivarium, where I'm busy housing only one yellow-headed day gecko, unfortunately. In that episode, I created this custom back wall using a few pieces of wood, some planter pots, a bunch of spray foam, and even more silicone that I all covered up in a mixture of sphagnum moss, cocoa fiber, and aqua soil to eventually create quite a lush living wall. But in today's episode, I want to do two things. The first thing that I want to do is I want to cover up the sides of the vivarium. The exposed spray foam on the side is a little bit visible, and I want to cover it up in some way or form, and I think I have quite the idea for that. And the second thing I want to do is try and add as much bamboo into the vivarium as possible so that the geckos have a home. Here is a better view of the exposed styrofoam on the side of the terrarium. And at first I was thinking of just painting over the exposed areas with some black paint. And then I thought to myself, why don't I just cover up the sides completely with some black paint? But I think that is just going to be too dark in the end. And well, then I reminded myself that there is actually a second method of covering up the sides. So I bought 2 rolls of frosted window tint, and I've been using this on all of my aquariums, and it actually looks always quite amazing. It's also going to let quite a bit of light still through from the side, so it's not going to be too dark on the inside of the vivarium. And any water stains on the side of the glass are also not going to be that visible in the long run. So I think this is going to be the best option. And before I add any substrate plants or anything like that, because now I can still tilt the vivarium onto its side with nothing being inside. So let's add the window frost, and then we can start playing around with the bamboo. Okay, got the window frost on, and it turned out better than I actually expected. It still lets in a bit of light through the sides. The spray foam is still a little bit visible, but where the vivarium is going to be sitting at the end of the day, I hope it's not going to be too visible. If it is, I will most probably paint over it with some black paint. It's most probably only going to be this side here. Otherwise, I very much like that it encloses the space a little bit, but still is a little bit see-through. Anyways, now it is time to add in some bamboo, and I should have maybe have thought about this a little bit earlier in the whole process when I started creating the back wall. It does protrude quite a bit into the vivarium, and I don't want to block too much of the living wall with all of the bamboo, so I'm going to see what I can create. The day geckos don't necessarily need bamboo in their enclosure, but where the geckos come from is the northern part of Madagascar, and they are lush bamboo forests, which they call mostly their home, and I want to obviously add in some bamboo just to make it as naturally as possible for them, especially since I already have bamboo in my old vivarium, and I love watching the geckos just jump around on the bamboo. They are perfectly adapted to live on bamboo, and also they live in the cracks of bamboo, lay their eggs, they raise their young, so definitely want to add in some bamboo. Now, I did go out to my local garden center and I got a variety of bamboo. I got this very, very thick one over here. This one would be quite cool for them to live in, especially if I drill a few holes into it. but it is very, very big. And then I have a few smaller ones that I'm just going to try and scatter around or try and place in somewhat of an island composition. And well, this is just going to let them just jump around a little bit. Before I actually started off this build, I actually did look at a lot of pictures of the bamboo forests of Madagascar. One picture actually caught my eye quite a bit, and I want to try and recreate that. Plus, Exo Terra actually makes a fake bamboo enclosure for these type of geckos. Though I don't want to do anything fake, I want to add in some real bamboo. And well, my ceiling is right above me, and with the length that I have, these aren't going to fit into the vivarium and underneath my roof, so I most probably need to chop them a little bit, or I'm going to put the vivarium onto the ground and then place them inside to see what I can create. Once I have all of the lengths together that I think will look quite cool, that's when we can, well, secure everything together with some spray foam and some silicone. But let's first get to actually measuring out what I actually need and, well, go from there. Okay, so I just chopped off a piece from the big bamboo, and as you guys saw, I was sort of hanging it in the middle of the air, and that's because I don't want the bamboo to be at the very, very bottom of the tank. That's where the false bottom is going to be, and I don't want the bamboo to be below the substrate line, be down there where all the water is going to gather up in the false bottom and slowly but surely just rot away. So roughly around about there is where the false floor is going to be, and in order to, well, keep everything in place, I am going to be adding the false floor just temporarily. So I'm just going to add in the false floor quickly, and then we can place the bamboo onto that and have a rough estimate of where every piece is going to go. It is the next morning, and yesterday I had a little bit of a creativity block and didn't really know how to continue further with the bamboo. So I asked my wife for her opinion, and well, this is what she basically came up with, and I very much like the way the look of it. It's, well, instead of just one little island of bamboo, there's actually two separate ones now, and yeah, I really like what she basically came up with, especially with the one bamboo also just going sideways through the vivarium. It's also going to break up the straight lines. Now, at the moment, all of the bamboo pieces, they are pretty much just loose standing around inside. The one little island on the side here, my wife actually helped me to glue it a little bit in place using the good old cotton wool and liquid super glue method, but it is all still a little bit wonky and, well, not really fixed together. So in order to keep everything a little bit more locked down, I'm going to use the same method that I used to create the back wall on the vivarium, and that is to use some spray foam just to, well, make a little bit of a base for the bamboo. It's going to lock the pieces all together in the bottom, and it's also just going to give me some form of a little bit of a base so that the bamboo can actually, well, stand straight once I actually fill up the substrate all around it. But I would say let's get going with the spray foam. It's going to take a little bit of time to dry, then I can carve everything down a little bit, and hopefully everything's going to be nice and secure. Another day has gone by, and the spray foam basis with the bamboo inside is completely cured. It is rock solid and hard. As mentioned yesterday, there were still a few places that were a little bit tacky. So yes, now it's all done, and I want to do the same as I did with the back wall of the terrarium, and that is cover up all the exposed spray foam with silicone, and then cover the silicone with some dried up media like sphagnum moss, cocoa fiber, and maybe some aqua soil. But I think I'm just going to cover it up with some dried up cocoa fiber, since these bases are basically going to be inside the soil of the terrarium, and if they do tend to stick out a little bit, I just want to make it look a little bit natural in case it does, well, stand out of the soil in the future. Though this is always one of the most messiest parts, covering everything up in silicone. So I'm going to get some gloves on, cover everything up in some silicone, and then dunk it into the bucket here that I have, well, my dried up substrate. And the substrate needs to be completely dry, otherwise it's not really going to stick to the silicone. But as I was saying, let me get the gloves on and get this all done, and then I would say the, well, bamboo skyscrapers are technically all done then. And then yeah, it's just one more thing I can tick off the list for the vivarium. If you guys enjoyed the video so far, leave a like and a comment down below. I would really appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to not miss out future videos on the 3-foot vivarium. We are slowly but surely getting closer to adding plants to it. The spray foam bases, they are all covered up in silicone and in substrate, and they are outside. It is going to take a few days for the silicone to fully cure. With the back wall here, it actually took, well, more than a week, and it actually still has a little bit of a silicone smell to it. So it takes quite a long time. And the weather outside is also pretty cold, so it's going to take most probably still even a little bit longer. But unfortunately, that's all that I can do for now. So as mentioned, subscribe to the channel. There is still more content to come with the terrarium vivarium build here. There's still, well, plants to be added and all of that and so on and so forth. I'm going to call it here. I'm going to let the silicone cure for a few days. Then we'll set up the false bottom on the terrarium vivarium and slowly but surely think of any plants that I want to get. Again, if you guys have any plant suggestions or ideas, leave them down in the comments. I would really love to hear them. I have a few plants that I want to get, but if there are any cool plants that you guys have in mind, let me know and I will have a look at them. But yeah, I would say I'll call it here and I'll catch you guys in the next one.